Right, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us um, for this session where we're going to be um, talking about digital transformation and this whole process of automation and the impact it will have on the future. But at the same time, what I would like to do is to show you how EU Business School can offer you a blended learning option and how the virtual classroom works as we all try to make sense of this new reality of COVID-19 under which we live. I am first and foremost wishing to extend to you the warm regards and greetings from the presidency of EU Business School. And I also would like to, on behalf of my colleagues from the marketing and the sales department, thank you most sincerely for joining us for this session today. So as I was saying, I am aware that so many of you parents, prospective students, and agents who join us, where you have students who are currently in the international schools and who form part of that international school community. And we also have IB students who currently don't have an answer in terms of will they be able to sit their exams or not, and what are institutions of education doing to adapt to these circumstances? And this is actually where the focus that I would like to take is there is in every single crisis or every single challenge, there is always an opportunity. And the way that I would like to, you will see, frame our discussion today is exactly about how EU Business School is right now looking at offering you durable solutions in which, while we continue to focus on, as individuals and as families and the communities, to deal with COVID-19, how at the same time we can offer at your service an education that is based on blended learning and how we use the virtual classroom, such as the experience we're going to be doing together, to demonstrate that to you. Now, at the same time, you hear a lot of doomsayers that say a lot of the future jobs is all about IT and the robotization, and they're going to take over, and a lot of us will be out of work. So how do you, as a parent or as a person with ambition, how do you make a decision on what it is that you're going to study? Is it based on the subject or the discipline of the area in which you want to work in the future? Or is it about these skill sets that's going to help you to be able to build your professional capital that will give you this attractiveness for any future employer? Now, of course, there is also the opportunity for you to, with these specific skill sets, that you would be able to start your own business as a startup, as an entrepreneur. So we're going to be looking at all these different aspects. But what I wanted to do quickly is to ask you just in the chat box to put in for me, and we'll take about 3 minutes to do that. Share with me, what are your expectations? What is it that you would like to take away from our session together? Now, I asked this question before while we were waiting for everybody to connect, and Yaroslav answered my question, and he said, I'd like you to talk specifically about digital transformation and what this will mean for the jobs of the future. Yaroslav, you are joining the right session, because that's exactly what I would hope to demonstrate for you, not on assumptions, but on actually quite a bit of research that's been done. So I'll be able to give you the data and share with you the facts and the figures that will determine these trends. Shivani is asking, Shivani says, how can we upgrade ourselves? What all courses can we enroll in to upgrade ourselves? So thank you very much for that question and comment, Shivani, because you talk exactly about these skill sets. The language that I like to use is to say these transversal skill sets and competencies that would allow you to be able to be highly effective in any environment, in any business, in any social, cultural, political context where you will find yourself. Let's take another two comments. So we have, okay, I can't see any new posts. So, okay, so we have these, and let's then move forward because I'm just aware of the time that we have. So we know that the world is in a state of flux. There is growing polarization in the labor market and opportunities between what is known as the high risk and the low risk jobs. Then add to this mixture unemployment and the underemployment, especially amongst young people. What has happened? We've seen more and more highly qualified, highly experienced individuals that don't go into retirement anymore, because life has become much more difficult, much more complex, and people prefer to be able to retain their economic independence, and they stay longer in employment. But unfortunately, the negative impact, it creates less employment opportunity for the young individual who comes out of university or comes out of school, and they don't necessarily have the same opportunities. So when we look at, so from Belgrade, from Moscow, from China, from Geneva, from Barcelona, from Berlin, from Shanghai, public debates currently rages about the future of work and whether there will be enough jobs to gainfully ensure employability for everyone. And what I would like to show you is that we are definitely looking at the labor market that is currently under strain, and that talent is actually being underutilized. And what I would like to share with you in terms of that, the evidence, McKinsey, which is an auditing firm, they've recently conducted a research, and they say that unemployment and the underemployment are high around the world. In the United States, including the so-called EU 15, the 15 core members of the European Union, there is a staggering 285 million adults who are not in the labor force at the moment. And at least 100 million of them would like to work. And the age group between 30 to 45% of the working age population around the world are underutilized. Now, what does this mean in terms of household incomes in the advanced economies that have stagnated and fueling this public disgruntlement and this that we so many of us here, we don't trust our governments anymore. We think that businesses, the businesses, all that they are interested in is to make profit for themselves, and they don't really look after the workforce. And let's just look quickly at these two slides. When we see in terms of specifically the manufacturing sector, if we look at the decline in terms of, now this period that we look at is from 1995 to 2015. These are the most accurate data that I've been able to retain from the OECD countries. And you see in the light blue is non-manufacturing, and in the blue you see the manufacturing. Now, the risk in terms of having an impact on these manufacturing economies and processes is indeed where IT and the automation is able to replace the human hands that would do this work. And that's why I was saying, as we're going to go through this, I would hope to entice you to think differently, because this presents unique opportunities for us, and why I would like to be able to show you how a study at EU Business School would really be a value proposition that I would like you to consider seriously. I'm not saying that because I hold the position of the academic dean of the online campus. I also work as a consultant for the United Nations Institute for Training and Research, and we design and deliver on behalf of various governments training programs to develop the specific multi-transversal competencies to ensure that the new labor force, the new management, the new leadership of tomorrow have these competencies to be able to work across sectors, work across social, cultural, economic dimensions. So what you see is so again in the light blue, the significant risk of change versus the high risk of automation. So you see these are highly advanced economies where you have the same reality. Now, when we even going to look at countries that are less advanced, the impact will be even higher. But what is important, if we look a little bit more closer, is not only is the employment curve change in these specific sectors, so from manufacturing to wholesale to construction, mining, retail, and you see even for educational services, all of these were identified as having the potential for it to be fully automated. And of course, that will have an impact on the individuals in terms of wage changes, but also employment changes, which is really significant. Add to this dimension and you've seen, I don't need to tell you more, the use of migrant labor that is always paid at a minimum rate for low skill type employment. And here you have, so for instance, based on the US, the research that was done there, and the different sectors that actually do employ labor force from a migrant population. Now, this is not necessarily political refugees, but these can also be economic refugees. So there is that dimension that makes it a little bit more complicated. Here again, you have those activities that are being carried out today that has the potential to be fully automated. Now, This is where I see the potential. So rather us looking at this and saying, "Ooh la la, this looks very scary. This just, let's push the panic button," is for me to say, "Hang on. Remember, you still need the human being to program, to give the instruction to the computer, to design the algorithms that the machine will use." And the slide that you have here is again a breakdown of the manufacturing and the service sector. So hospitality, tourism, hotels, auditing services, and so on. But what I want to do is skip through these, because this just breaks down into it a little bit more, these specific skills that one would need to be able to be effective in the future, both in terms of the skill level and the targeted training. And what I want to do here is to unpack it for you a little bit more. When we look at what most of the industry and business leaders are telling us today, and to say that technology, IT, automation creates new opportunities, but this is based on 13 specific skill sets that the future business leader, innovator, startup, anybody that's going to join the world of work, either as an independent or as an employee, needs to have these skill sets. And let's read through it together very quickly. So it's the ability to anticipate change, to be able to continue to deliver training and development, to have the curiosity. There is a problem. What do I need to do? Let's try to see how we can find a solution if we do plan A or plan B. Okay, let's test, because we need to adjust it then to come up with something that's really going to have an impact. And of course, to be able to do that, you need to do it through teamwork. There is the objectivity, communication, self-control, autonomy, decision-making, enthusiasm, discipline, planning, and organization. Now, I can already imagine some of you present here will say, "Come on, Jon-Hans, be serious. We all master these." And I will say to you, I agree. And this is why I thought what I would like to do is to look at these slides and to say, but let us not forget that more than half of the world's population is still offline, limiting the potential to benefit from this global digitalization, and that we can think everything is going to be online. Look at us today. Here we are in a very specific moment in our history, our collective history, where we have a virus that is invisible, that is impacting our lives. And we now, so many of us, have to work from home in confinement, and the limits of technology. Now imagine, we still have the luxury of being connected, but what about for our businesses and the job creation and reaching out and connecting, doing business with most of the more than half of the world's population that is still not connected, that doesn't have access, cannot afford access? And this is where it becomes important that we look at this slide. Now, this was the University of Phoenix that did a research, and they said, what will be in 2020 the big impacts that will impact our lives, our income streams that we need to deal with? And these are these big bubbles the spiked bubbles. And let's just quickly work through them, and you will see that it makes a lot of sense, and it draws on a number of these issues that we discussed already. So you have the issue of extreme longevity, and we see with the COVID-19, who are the first victims who sadly falls away. And when I say this, please accept EU Business School's condolences if this is indeed the case to any of you who's connected today who have lost a member of your family who was at an advanced age to the coronavirus. People get older, they live longer, and most of them stay in employment longer. You have the computational world. What this is saying, there's much more computerization of the world of work and the world of business. At the same time, we see more superstructured multinational organizations. Use Uber as an example. Use Amazon as an example, where we now cross over national boundaries, national tax regimes, etc. And you have these mega international businesses where very often the wages are quite low. The rise of smart machines and systems, the new media ecology, and this is not in terms of, the best way to express that is think of the social media mediums that we use to communicate and to inform ourselves, both in terms of things that we do for our work, the way that we inform ourselves, how we update or we consume news, or how do we engage. So many of the younger generation have more virtual friends and a virtual family than they would necessarily like to spend the time in building relationships with their actual family. And this is because they are really involved in and totally absorbed in this virtual world that this new media ecology presents to us. And then finally is this globally connected world. It was like yesterday when we saw what's happening in the Wuhan province, and it was, of course, devastating. It was a tragedy to see what is taking place. And 3 weeks later, here we are. It's at our doorstep, and life must go on. And how what happens in one corner of the world a couple of years ago, we would not be aware. Now, we are all connected, and within 24 hours, you would know what has taken place. And here is where I would like to share with you the value of engaging in a study at EU Business School. Now, that can be for an undergraduate study, or it can be for the master level, the MBA studies. But EU Business School will offer you a key to unlock your treasure trove of unlimited potential to steer your career and your individual ambition to success by directly helping you to build the treasure trove of your professional competence and your professional capital. What do I mean by that? And I would like to, for us to look at the report that was published by the World Economic Forum, which we are all familiar with. And a lot of the members are actually leaders of commerce and industry. In 2015, they published these 10 skill sets, and let's just quickly look at it together. So at the top, it was complex problem solving, coordinating with others, followed by people management, critical thinking, negotiation, quality control, service orientation, and then the last three, judgment and decision making, active listening, and creativity. The world changed so much because of this, the themes and the impacts of automation, digitalization, these 7 bubbles that I showed you, that was conducted by the Phoenix University in the US. So in 2020, they published this, and it was this edition this year of the World Economic Forum, where they were saying complex problem solving still remains the top priority. But then there's also the critical thinking. EU Business School, the management sat down and said, right, we have the COVID issue. How do we deal with it? Do we just shut the school and say, okay, let's wait, and we deprive our students from completing their studies, continuing their studies, but most importantly, continuing to engage them in a study so that they do not necessarily have to go into panic mode, and that they can focus, because there's so many different issues that you have to think with, specific to the community and the context in which you find yourself, and businesses, of course. And this is where they EU Business School said, no, what we can do is we can now start focusing on the issue of blended learning and the potential of the virtual classroom and the interactivity of that it's not just you sit and you listen to, Chubby Cheeks me, who talks about some abstract things, but it's to really unpack, and it's about those skill sets, those valuable skill sets, and critical thinking, that notion of analysis, evaluation, synthesis. Those are such important skill sets. Creativity, yeah, is not about being a Picasso or a Michelangelo. It's about being creative in finding solutions to challenges that we have not been confronted with. And this blended learning and the virtual classroom is such an highly effective outcome. So then we look at people management. At the end of the day, there is still that very important issue of it is people. It is the human being that you're going to need to still give the instruction to the machine to design the algorithms. So that is really important. Coordinating with others, these highly complex global structures, you would be able to, when you represent your own business or the company that you will represent, that you are highly effective in negotiating across social class, social boundaries, religious grounds, social, cultural, political boundaries, and that you can connect. And it's about customer and client, and it's about finding what is the value base that would serve both the customer and the business. Emotional intelligence, and that's just to connect with people across the because business today is about building long-lasting relationships. It's not about just one-off sales anymore. It's become a science that is very, very specialized. Judgment and decision making, service orientation, negotiation, and the cognitive flexibility. We are going to be seeing more complexity in this world that we live in, and we're going to come out of the coronavirus, the shadow of the coronavirus, but the world will be different. And the lessons that we've learned from this will help us to become more effective in the way that we conduct ourselves, the way that we develop our skills, and the way that we can contribute to our families, to businesses, to our communities, and to the social and political processes. So all those complexities that makes up a community and a society. Now, Shivani was saying, she asks an important question, and if half of the world is offline, what is the solution to it? It's the economic ability. If you don't have the ability to buy internet, or to have an internet contract, or for a service provider to make internet available, if you don't have that economic independence, you will be continuously excluded. So this is why it is so important that business today and leadership in business, and that is what EU Business School is all about, is to develop individuals who can really play a positive role in taking business to the next level. But that is done through business practices and business designing strategies that don't just have a specific focus, but it has this global perspective, and it reaches across geographic boundaries, so that business can be not just seen as, the triple bottom line for the shareholders, but for all of mankind. And that is where I would like to stop. And I am happy to invite questions. And what I would do is to ask you to just pop your questions in the chat box, and then as it comes up, I'll try to engage with you. Now, Yaroslav says, the question is, do we need to make the other half of the world online? My answer is absolutely. All of mankind needs to move forward, has to have the same access. And don't forget, Yaroslav, imagine this other half of the world, the potential that it has for a future business. You have a huge potential, prospective clients, new customers. So my answer is a resounding absolute yes. Adnan says, I'm sorry I was a bit late to the meeting, but I guess I'm still lucky to listen to your words. No, Adnan, EU Business School and I and my colleagues are indeed, lucky and appreciate the fact that you could find the time to join us, because we would like you to know that we specifically, when it comes to the community, the EU business community, of which you are so much part of, is you are really important to us, and we would like you to know that. So thank you. Any other questions? Do you have any questions regarding course content? I just want to again make it clear that what I try to demonstrate to you today, under normal circumstances, the internet connection will work really well, but these are exceptional circumstances. So I know some of you had difficulties to connect throughout, but more importantly was what it is that we talk when we say blended learning. So whereas part of the course would be followed in the actual campus, now this could be any one of the campuses in Munich, in Barcelona, and the two campuses in Switzerland, namely Geneva and Montreux, and then part of it could be delivered in this format, which is the virtual classroom, where the learning experience is totally different, but it simultaneously builds a different number of skill sets. And that's why I come again back to where I say what EU Business School can guarantee you is this key that's going to allow you to unlock the treasure trove of your unlimited potential to steer your way to success by building your professional capital that is based on these specific skill sets. It's not how much do you know about international marketing, about economic statistics, or those are all process subject knowledge, which is a given. That is the knowledge and the academic study that you would do. But much more important is these transversal skill sets that is going to help you to build your professional capital and to give you that added advantage above anybody else. And again, and these are my concluding words, is how can I sit here? And of course, you're going to say to me, but of course, this is what you would say, as the academic dean of the online campus. And I would say to you, no, I have the experience of EU Business School now more than 10 years, and how every single time when there is a challenge, there is a crisis like this one, how the forward-looking leadership of the presidency of EU Business School looks at challenging itself to make sure that the learning that is offered is based on the reality of the context, not just theory, but making sure that that experiential learning builds the individual and enhances those skill sets, which at the end of the day is what's going to help you to stand out and to be marked and to have that head start in your career. What are the companies looking for from MBA graduates? It's exactly these skills, Saloidine, that I mentioned. If you allow me, I will just jump back to it. That's exactly what they're looking for. Companies are not looking anymore for somebody that's going to be packing boxes or that's going to be the human resource manager, because most company use service providers that can actually manage the HR system for many companies. And since we are talking about the impact that automation is going to have, so a lot of these jobs that can be replaced by IT, computers, automotive platforms, artificial intelligence. Here are those skills that an individual today, a company wants to see somebody that can multi-manage, that can deal with several objectives and goals and tasks. So it's about multi-management in a highly complex and diverse environment. So you don't just need to, on behalf of a company, look after a specific portfolio in Portugal or in Spain or in Russia. It's about the ability to literally take responsibility for that specific tasks, those processes and objectives, but from a multi-cross-disciplinary perspective across geographical locations. We see that more and more, and this is where I'm saying the opportunity that we need to see in this, the more we can work together in developing future graduates and future leaders and industry champions for industry, business and companies that has these skills. And it's not me who says this. This is these leading business leaders who form part of the Global Economic Forum, and there you have those key skill sets that they've put forward, and they said this is what we want. People must be able to have these skills. Now, if you come forward and you say, "Oh, but I know strategic marketing well," try and see where strategic marketing fits in there. It's your ability to take what you've learned from strategic marketing, that subject knowledge called strategic marketing, and then to be able to use these skills to breathe life into it so that they can have real value for the company. Arif is saying, will I be competitive if I take IT or in a computer science courses? or if you can suggest us some courses which will help us to adapt the current and future environment. Arif, great question. But again, I think what is really important is you need to be able to have a cross business competence rather than looking at just computer programming, because the risk that you have when you do one specialization is you're going to fit into a small box your competencies rather than to be able to fit into several boxes. That is what's going to build your professional capital, and that's going to allow a company to want to hire you because you have so many different knowledge in different business processes and business areas, complemented by these cross competencies, and that just makes for a brilliant CV. Voila. I'm happy to take more questions. You are most welcome, Arif. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? We still have about 10 minutes to go, and I'd be happy to take your questions or comments. What would you did you felt was lacking in the presentation that you would have liked to hear more, and I'd be happy to try to answer that for you or to elucidate it a little bit more. We have another 10 minutes or so. So while you typing is really to underscore that we should not see automation as something negative. It is a fact. That is indeed what is happening. Add to that complexity, the current emergency that we all having to live with, which is COVID-19. But again, look at it from the world of possibilities, because every single challenge that you will face, you need to be able to say, right, how can I turn this into a positive for me, for my family and my community, for the business that I'm working in, or that I will. And that is exactly what I think is so important today, rather than us looking always at, this is a negative, I need to reinvent myself. Nick will absolutely be able to, and his team, to share with you, because Shavani asks for any courses in particular to suggest for fresh MBA graduates. Again, my colleagues would be able to take you into the detail of these individual courses or specializations. Adnan, so Adnan, really, there you have it. The main points was for us to look at the reality of the impact of the digital transformation and the automation of the world of work in specific sectors, specific countries, and the potential that holds for you, and how EU Business School have gone through great lengths to adapt, to update, and to offer a business and a management education program, a portfolio of programs that's going to help you to embed these skills in the learning of the individual modules that would help you to have a head start in your future. Now, if you want to start as, launch your own startup, or if you want to launch your own business, or if you want to take start working for a company, but with the clear objectives to become part of the management level. That's exactly what EU business education is all about. Then we have Sadev, who was, so let me just, okay, excellent. Zulai is saying, I would like to read her. Okay, I'm currently studying foreign applied language. Do you think I could be able to attend the business school courses? Again, I would ask you to have this discussion with my colleague, Nick, and his team, and they will absolutely be able to guide you towards the best solution that's going to be purpose fit for you. Okay, voila. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would then... Okay, Eva says... Okay, Eva, I'm unfortunately, the problem is not on our side. The problem is with each and every... I'm on a... where I am, yeah, in Portugal, I'm on a very good connection. But the problem is a lot of the service providers that we use in our different countries is just hugely saturated. And this is possibly why you don't hear us well. But yeah, I can assure you we have a... It's a cable connection. It's very good, and I'm just looking, and I have 100% feed. Thompson, so I will specialize in digital business next term. When can I expect from the courses, and how will it help me in my career? Great question, Thompson. So this is exactly what I'm saying. So what you're going to be learning is you're going to be seeing what is digitalization, what is it that it offers business, what are the positive and the negatives, and then what you're going to be looking at is then how can you take existing technologies and apply it to business processes to enhance the product, the service, and the offer of businesses. More importantly, you will have other courses such as businesses and entrepreneurship, where we see more and more businesses are starting to think like startups, where they want to cut their overheads and they come down to their core business. And what a lot of companies are doing now is they're integrating IT technologies and these automotive processes, and you will be in a very good position to go to a future employer and to be able to talk this language, which is what everybody... a lot of companies have started, some like Amazon and Uber, they are miles ahead in that sense, but the average business is still trying to make sense and doing different tests in terms of how they can use a lot of these IT technologies, because there are questions of data protection and so many national laws that dictate what type of information, personal information, can be shared and what not. Then you have the question of cybersecurity. So all of those elements you will be you'll be dealing with. It's not just one specific course, but it's the specializations that you will have that will give you the solid foundation of all these different processes in a business. And then in your last term, when you do the specializations, that is really where you're going to dig deep into what it is that you are studying and the applied part of it where you're going to look at these tools and the practices and how you can bring value. And then when you graduate, you go to a future employer, you're going to show them that you not only do you understand the issues of IT technology and cybersecurity and so on, but that you actually have these different skill sets that would give you that advantage. Pascal, hi, what do you think is the most underrated, underestimated aspects of digitalization in terms of jobs? I think it's this idea that it's all about working from home and everybody being the next Mark Zuckerberg. It's much more complicated, and it's the opportunities that that brings to individuals in the way that you can hold 6, 7, 8 different types of jobs because you have these skill sets, and that you don't just now will be employed in human resources or accounting or customer service, but you actually have these skill sets to be able to, for a company or any organization, to use you across a multiple of disciplines and areas of specialization within an organization. And the job satisfaction that comes with that is immense. Voila. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this session. I would really like to once more, on behalf of the presidency of EU Business School, thank you very much for your continued collaboration, and also for taking the time to join us today. There'll be another session this afternoon for those of you that joined late or you would like to join it again. Please feel free. And I personally would like to take the opportunity to say to you, thank you for giving me, allowing me to be part of your time for this hour, but also to you and your families, please stay healthy and all the best. If you have any questions, please just share that with Nick, and I'll be happy in any way that I can support in providing you with answers. I'd be happy to do so. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best, and stay healthy, most importantly. Thank you.